Hey everyone, it's me again, Lance Meixer, the Undead Viking of the board game world. And depending on where you're watching this, you could be watching it on the Gray Fox Games channel or the Undead Viking Videos channel. Do me a favor right now, if you haven't subscribed or done the whole thing with the notification stuff on either of those channels, please do that because it helps this video, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. Anyway. This is another one of my little musings on board games and thoughts on the hobby or whatever. And this is dealing with, as you saw the video title, dealing with theme and the importance of theme when you are playing a board game. Now, if you have watched, because I've had the Undead Viking channel for a decade or so, and it is not nearly as prolific as it used to be. But I did a lot of videos where I talked about games and reviewed games, and one of the things that I said a lot was that I didn't really care about the art. I didn't really care about the theme as long as the game was good. I could sit down and play. And that was kind of not really a mantra, if you will, but that was just kind of my go-to answer about theme in games. And as time has gone on with me playing games and enjoying games or whatever, um, I found that both of those things aren't really true anymore. Um, I'm not going to talk about artwork right now, but I am going to talk about theme. And theme for me is pretty important. Uh, and I think it's due to a few reasons. But let me just talk about themes really quick. Um, if you follow the board game hobby, or if you've been part of the board game hobby for a long time, you will notice themes come in and out of uh, favor, vogue, whatever you want to call it. Uh, and it does seem to be a lot of like chasing the tail in a lot of ways. Publishers are just like anybody else. They want to make a successful game. Games take years in most cases, of developing, planning, playtesting, production. And if you come out with that game and drop it out into the market and it lands with a big giant faint dud of nothing, you run into a situation where all that time, those resources that you spent, result in no payback for it. And I realize that in a way, board games are considered to be a kind of a work of art or whatever, and I do agree with that. I do feel that it's still a business. And if a board game doesn't sell, the business doesn't stay alive. So themes kind of just come in and out of season, so to speak. Many years ago, it seemed like everybody had a zombie game that was coming out. And I can remember, and I'm not going to mention any games in specificity here because I just don't want to call out any other publishers. That's one of the weird things with making these videos is that since I used to be a board game creator and I kind of do that as well, still on a very small basis. I am now a publisher, and so it's one of those. I don't want to ever bag on somebody else's process or what they're making. But I do remember quite a while ago, there was a game that I was asked to do a video for that was coming out. And I said, well, and I remember playing it and I was like, this game's fun. I said, but the theme here, have you ever thought about doing something different? And the publisher said, well, I don't want to just make yet another, you know, uh, zombie game. I think they said, or maybe it was like, oh yeah, I could easily just make this about demons and monsters or whatever, but I just don't want to do that. I want to use the theme that I want. And so I was just kind of like, okay, and then the game came out and I think it did okay. But I still believe that like if they had done a more visceral theme, because right at that time it was all about big giant monsters, demons, zombies, that kind of thing. That was what everybody was into. That's all the games are being produced as. And here comes this game that had, I'm just going to say this, it had more of a nature theme, definitely a kinder, gentler theme to it. And from what I remember, it did okay in crowdfunding, and then it came out into the market and then promptly vanished, and the game was liquidated basically. The stock was soon, you saw it at local online game stores, for like their deal of the day, and then eventually it just vanished. Now, I don't begrudge that person for holding true to their design and what they wanted to do, but it is one of those things where theme can matter, and it does matter. And that's just strictly from a business side of the coin. It behooves a publisher to kind of look at the types of games that are being delivered, being designed, and that are out there, and then attempting or trying to make sure that their game fits into the mood of the public at that time. Now, I do think there are some themes that will always kind of maintain their level of, well, I guess I should say like a safe floor, if you will. Games about, economic Euro games, that deal with trading from, insert name of European city here. Things like that will always, the theme is probably fairly pasted on. And the repertoire of the designer and the publisher will kind of carry that, and they'll say, well, I don't really care, if this is, Antwerp or whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's a game called Antwerp. But you insert that sort of thing, and then it's about resource collection in the late 1800s of delivering things to a burgeoning industrial textile mill. You understand what I'm talking about. Those will always appeal, and I like those games. I've played those games, I've enjoyed those games, but they're definitely not a theme that I seek out. Now, what I do realize now, for me personally, for what I want to play, is that there are tons of themes that just, before I even crack open a box, before I even take a look at things, I'm bored to tears by the idea behind the theme. Um, I made a joke the other day about, somebody mentioned a game to me, and I was like, "Is that the most newest rendition of, get the right correct color swatches, put in the right order so you can make the most splendid kite of the spring season?" And we all had a chuckle of that. And I mean, and I don't think that, I mean, actually saying that out loud, I think there probably is a game like that. I'm not calling out a game in particular, but um, it's one of those things where, for me personally, that game, I wouldn't even have a hi cat. I wouldn't even take that game off a shelf. I mean, it would be one of those things where somebody said, "Oh no, it's a quick game. It takes like 45 minutes." I'm like, I'd rather not play that game. And there are certain things that, like, I'm always going to be interested in. Things that have a science fiction theme, things that have a fantasy theme, those are games that are going to appeal to me more. And I think the reason why I've kind of changed in the last, better part of the last 10 years. Um, for me, it's the limitation of how much time I have to actually play games anymore. My children are older; they're in a lot of activities, so I have to, I'm following what they do. Um, I've been working with Gray Fox now for 5 years, and I am much more in the thick of it when it comes to the process of us publishing our games and getting these games out. So my work along those things is much more involved. I, you know, on a like other levels of things, like the people that I play games with. Um, we all kind of had our children around the same time. So their children are also, a lot of activities. Their free time is very limited as well. So finding a moment in time to sit down at somebody's house and play games for 2 to 3 hours. It's just not available. And so because of that reduction of playtime, I don't really have, I can't, have the folly of of chasing down a game that just try it out to see what it looks like or feels like kind of thing. I have to be a lot pickier and choosier. And then also, I've said this a few times, and this isn't a brag by any means, but I mean I've played thousands of board games by now, and I know what I like and I know what I don't like. And usually, by the look of a game, I can either say I feel like I've played that game with a different look or a different name, or I can say I feel like I play games like that and I don't really enjoy those games. And so I kind of stay away from them. Now, that doesn't mean that like my kind of reduction to like my focus or whatever of just science fiction, fantasy, that type of thing. I don't branch out, or that those particular themes can lead me astray, right? I mean, those games might not be as fun as I expected or what I wanted. But I do find that I'm just not uh, I'm not as open, I guess, and that's kind of horrible to say, but I'm not as open, if you will, to just anything. I used to, with great pride, used to say that I was an omni gamer, like I was willing to play anything, and now I realize that I just am not, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think, like I said, it's more of a concentration on what I enjoy, and I want to concentrate on those things and enjoy the things that I know I'm going to like instead of branching out. But I also see it as, just uh, an efficiency type of situation as well. Now, so yeah, there you go. Themes of games, and are they important? I think they're incredibly important when it comes to um, as a publisher or whether or not your game is going to sell. And I think also the theme of a game is incredibly important when it comes to your own personal time and your investment that you want to do. And as a other aside, I will say this: I used to have like this attitude of like I'm not going to like quit playing a game during mid session. I will see it through it to the end, and I won't just give up on it. I'll finish it off and then we'll go from there. And I'll say this, I definitely have realized that when a game is a slog and I can look around the table and I can see that nobody else is really seeming to enjoy themselves, I will be the first person to say, do you think we want to just, turn this one in and play something we enjoy and play something that maybe we all know and we'll have fun with? And if the agreement of the table is yeah, 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 I mean, then we'll move on. And if it isn't, I'll see if it's a way that I can extract myself from the table at that point, and and then we can try to do something else. Or they can continue playing and I can do something else. But there you go. Theme in board games. Tell me, what are your favorite themes in board games? Have you found that your desire to play certain themes has increased or diminished over time? And what do you think are like uh, the mood right now in the board game world? What do you think is the big themes right now? And what's some evergreen themes that you think always will stay healthy? I'd love to hear your comments. So I watch my cats. Cats have the zoomies behind me. Until next time, I'm the Undead Viking. Take care of yourself.